the same student, I'm sorry, Mbali didn't tell me who the student is, but she did tell me it was the same student, sent me another question from the same year. So this is 2019, and this is a speech. Now, to be honest, I wouldn't have touched this speech. So I remember it. So what is it? You're giving a speech, but the first thing is, I always talk to you about your gaps. So we've got it, it's a speech, no problem. Who's the audience? Your audience is youth leaders. So these are people who know what they're about, and they are youth influencers. So these are high-powered, influencers. These are high-powered young people. I would say probably sort of 18 to 25 or 30, sort of matric average age. So these are people who are activists. They know. They are clued up. They are experts in their field. So there's your first problem. You are a national motivational speaker. And I'm going, oh, wow, okay. That's quite a challenge. A national motivational speaker. You had better be flippin' good. Right, okay. What am I talking to these youth leaders about? I'm talking about the changes that the current generation will have to make to ensure that the planet is protected for the next generation. Right, so if I wrote this, I'm telling you now, I'd be put in the moderate category. I'd hope for skillful, because I can write quite well and I can paragraph properly and my grammar's going to be spot on. But, oh, it's Elizabeth. Oh, thank you very much. It's just come through from my producer next door. So Elizabeth, this is from you, and I know exactly why you sent this to me. Because Elizabeth, I took one look at these two things and I thought, yup. And actually, Elizabeth, I'm amazed you didn't send the rest of the transactional writing from last year, because it was all challenging. Okay, so I'm very glad I wasn't a student last year. Okay, so back to the problem here. So Elizabeth, I felt that, okay, who are we talking about? We're talking about people like Greta Thunberg. We're talking about the people who work for DIRCO in South Africa, for people who are part of the South African Institute of International Affairs. Those are the kinds of young people I'm talking to. And believe me, I've met them, and they're amazing. So what could I tell them as a motivational speaker about what we should do for the planet that they don't already know? I haven't a clue. I really don't. I mean, we all know these things. I would need something that I'd read this morning about something that we could do. But for the rest, we know the common things. So the minute you write the common things that everybody else knows about how litter is polluting, about how Africa is seen as the dumping ground for electronic waste from European countries. They send the stuff to Africa pretending that it can be reused. They dump it in Africa and it is polluting our environment. But we know this. So unless we have a solution, unless there's been a kind of young person's conference to Ghana and Eritrea or whatever, and you as a motivational speaker have some knowledge of something that is new and fresh and amazing. We've all heard it. We know they're using drones for agriculture. We know these things. So what am I going to write that's going to impress the marker? I couldn't see it myself. I thought the marker would go, yeah, this candidate writes quite well, but I've read it all before. Moderate, or maybe at the bottom of skillful, if I could just creep into the skillful category. So Elizabeth, I don't really know how to advise you. Look, the transactionals, as I've said, for 2019, this is home language. They were hard. The one that you've cut off slightly, the one above, was about you're going to write for a blog and you've sent in your CV and now they've asked you, kind of to motivate, to write a motivational letter for yourself, why they should employ you. That was about the easiest of the topics. There was one about write an article on modern slavery. Whoa. Elizabeth, I have no idea what you're going to get tomorrow. Remember, these papers were set last year. And for those of you who are in grade 11, your papers have already been set for grade 12. So the papers are set. They're ready. They're done and dusted. Your papers were set a long time ago. If they're following the same trend, they're making the transactional that little bit more challenging, that little bit more difficult, that little bit more, what have you read? What have you read recently? What do you know? I kept on going on about intensive reading. I kept on bringing you articles from Conversation Africa. That's what they're looking for you to tap into. So you need to think about it. We wait to see with great interest. I'll see the paper at about 4:30 tomorrow and we'll see what it is. But remember, stop and think, plan. Say to yourself, don't just write the topic endlessly. Don't just write the first thing that comes to your mind and then sleep for the exam. Take time to plan, take time to think. Right, I've got a whole lot of other questions, but I think let's take an ad break and then we'll start again because the other questions aren't topics. They are questions. I've brought some topics which I'm hoping to get to. But the rest of them are just straight questions about how do I do this and how do I do that. So let's take an ad break and then we'll handle the questions.